In Owego held a memorial tribute Wednesday morning to honor the victims lost in the terror attacks. Among the many lives lost that day was Tioga County resident Derek James DeCavis. Vestal High School and Ithaca College graduate worked in an office located on the 86th floor of the World Trade Center South Tower at the time of the attacks. Officials discussed the importance of remembering the events of the difficult day.
Many are still passing from the injuries that they sustained that day. There's now over 27,000 certified people with 9/11 certified cancer. Over 5,000 have died from 9/11 illnesses since, including those who worked, lived, and went to school in Lower Manhattan.
Several fire and police departments gathered at the 9/11 memorial at Hickory's Park in Owego to observe the anniversary of the attacks and honor those who lost their lives.
Millions of Americans